What if the moon suddenly disappeared? Not exploded, not slowly drifting away, just gone. One moment it's there, quietly doing whatever the moon does, and the next moment it isn't. No flash, no sound, no warning. Just a suspiciously empty piece of sky. At first, almost nothing would happen, which is comforting in a very misleading way. The Earth would keep spinning. Gravity would still work. You would still have bills to pay. If this happened during the day, most people wouldn't even notice until night when something felt off. The sky would look unfinished, like someone forgot to render an important object. The real problems wouldn't start immediately because the moon's influence is subtle, it's not dramatic. It doesn't pull buildings apart or fling oceans into space. It just quietly stabilizes things, and now it wouldn't be doing that anymore. Let's start with the tides. The moon is responsible for most of them. Without it, the oceans wouldn't suddenly calm down, but they would become confused. The sun would still cause tides, but they'd be much weaker and much less regular. Coastal ecosystems that rely on predictable tidal cycles would start to collapse. Entire food chains would begin failing, not with a bang, but with paperwork and declining population graphs. Then there's Earth's rotation. The moon acts like a giant stabilizer, keeping Earth's axial tilt relatively steady. Without it, the tilt would begin to wobble. Not immediately and not politely. Over long periods of time, Earth could tilt much more dramatically, which means seasons would become extreme. Summers could become brutal, winters could become unrecognizable, and climate zones would slowly slide across the planet like furniture on a tilted floor. But before we even get to that, nights would change. Completely. Without moonlight, nighttime would become much darker than most humans have ever experienced. In cities, you might not notice much difference. Streetlights are very proud of themselves. But outside urban areas, the change would be profound. No moonlit landscapes, no natural night glow, just stars and darkness, in quantities our eyes are not emotionally prepared for. Animals would notice immediately. Many species rely on the moon for navigation, hunting, mating, and timing their behavior. Remove the moon, and you remove a clock that's been running for hundreds of millions of years. Migration patterns would break. Predators would hunt at the wrong times. Prey would panic or stop moving altogether. Nature doesn't like sudden software updates. Human culture wouldn't fare much better. Calendars would lose their original meaning. A month would become a word that refers to something that no longer exists. Poetry would suffer greatly. Werewolves would be out of work. Entire mythologies would become awkwardly incorrect. And then there's debris. The moon didn't just vanish from our calendars, it vanished from space. That leaves behind a gravitational gap. Objects that were once comfortably orbiting the Earth-Moon system would start finding new, less comfortable paths. Some might head toward Earth, not in an exciting, cinematic way, more like a slow increase in things unexpectedly falling out of the sky. Over longer timescales, the absence of the moon would quietly rewrite Earth's future. Earth's rotation would gradually speed up, shortening our days. The axial wobble would continue. Climate stability, one of the key reasons complex life had so much time to develop, would degrade. Life wouldn't end right away, it would just become harder, less stable, more chaotic. Which is often how the worst problems work. The most unsettling part is how normal everything would seem at first. No alarms would go off. No global announcement would play in the sky. People would argue online about whether the moon was ever real to begin with. And by the time the consequences became impossible to ignore, the moon would already be very gone. So if the moon suddenly disappeared, you wouldn't die immediately. You wouldn't even panic right away. You'd just be living on a planet that quietly lost one of the main reasons it stayed comfortable for so long. And Earth would keep going, slightly less balanced, slightly less predictable, slowly reminding us that some background details are actually load-bearing.